July 11th, 82 years ago, on that Sunday night, Ukrainians attacked Poles, their neighbors, with whom they had lived like brothers for years. They brutally murdered every Pole they encountered, including the father of Władysława Kamińska, who told the Institute of National Remembrance, which documents Ukrainian crimes, about what happened to her family. Daddy said to him, "Sashka, why do you want to kill me? What have I done wrong?" He said, "You were a good neighbor, but I have to kill you because you are Polish." He shot Daddy in the head. Only half of his head was visible, one eye. When I came the next day, Daddy was lying on his back by the fence. Ukrainian nationalists, but also ordinary residents, killed Poles with axes, pitchforks, harvesting tools, knives, anything they had at hand. Pregnant women had their stomachs cut open and their babies taken out, and various animals were sewn into their wombs. What a tragedy. Bloody Sunday, July 11th, 1943, symbolizes the peak of cruelty of the Ukrainian insurgent army criminals. For us Polish people, this day is a time of reflection and prayer, of remembering the brutally murdered children, women, and elderly. It is also a reminder of Polish villages that have been completely wiped out. Sometimes a lonely cross stands there today. The victims of the genocide in Volhynia deserved a dignified burial, and their surviving families have the right to pray at the graves of their loved ones. It was cruelty difficult to describe, torture, genocide. Banderite units, assisted by Ukrainian peasants and the farming population, were involved in carrying out the crimes. Neighbors, the closest neighbors, murdered each other, not only in Volhynia, but also in other areas of the eastern borderlands. Ukrainians murdered 134,000 innocent Polish people. In the southeastern lands of the former Polish nation, this neighborly harmony was destroyed in the most cruel way possible. National Day of Remembrance for the victims of the genocide committed by Ukrainians against Polish people. Ceremonies have been and are being held throughout the country. In Warsaw, there were memories, but also an appeal, because 82 years after this cruel crime, its victims have still not been found. Our desire is to find, exhume, and identify our ancestors who still lie in nameless death pits, to return these remains to their families and bury them with dignity in a Christian manner. That is all we want, and that is all we desire. We want the truth, and we want respect for the victims, not only for the deceased, but also for their loved ones. Polish President Andrzej Duda wrote on the X portal. Only on the basis of truth, even the most difficult truth, can mature and sincere relations between nations be built, including between Poles and Ukrainians. This is one of the most tragic experiences in our history. July 11th, 1943, was the day when this ruthless crime culminated. Our defenseless compatriots, ordinary people, civilians, innocent victims, often killed in churches where they attended Sunday Mass, died at the hands of Ukrainian nationalists. They were murdered because they were Poles. In a letter addressed to the participants of the ceremony, he pointed out that from the very beginning, this crime against Poles was covered up. For decades, the Volhynia crime was shrouded in silence. Only the survivors, relatives of the victims, clergy, and distinguished researchers of recent history sought to document and preserve the truth about that tragedy. A truth that will never be forgotten. July 11th, the day of the tragedy of genocide in Volhynia, which Pope John Paul II, the Holy Father, described as genocidum atrox, genocide with particular cruelty. Never before in the history of Slavic states and Slavic nations has one Slavic brother nation acted in this way towards another. We want the Volhynia lie to be treated in the same way as the Auschwitz lie. Any falsification of history and the martyrdom of Poles should be treated in the same way as the denial of Nazi crimes. Much depends on the Ukrainians condemning the criminals who killed Poles, Stepan Bandera, Klim Savur, and others, and not making them heroes, as part of Ukrainian society still does today. The Ukrainians committed genocide and do not want to admit it. It is very important that these relations are not burdened with historical lies. I do not know if the Ukrainians will be able to do this. All in all, we have lent a helping hand to the Ukrainians during the war. But sincere reconciliation also requires historical truth about the crimes, the victims, the perpetrators, and what happened in Volhynia and the Eastern Territories 82 years ago.